Hello everyone, welcome back. So this is going to be the continuation of lab 2 that we seen in the previous video. So unfortunately I had to rebuild all the previous steps in this lab since the previous one got timed out. So you might see some different naming for the VPC and some other naming. Okay, so in this step, we will be creating a public security group. So in this task, we will create a security group so that users can access, your Amazon EC2 instance. So security groups in a VPC specify which traffic is allowed to or from an Amazon EC2. So here we can use Amazon EC2 security groups to help secure instances within an Amazon VPC. So by using the security groups in the VPC, we can specify both inbound and outbound traffic, which is allowed to or from each Amazon EC2 instance. So the traffic which is not explicitly allowed to or from an instance is automatically denied. So let's go to the security groups. So under security, you can see the security groups. And here, choose the create security group. So here, enter the security group name, public security group, and can enter the description, which is allows incoming traffic to public instance. In here you can under VPC just click on this X to clear it, and you can choose the VPC that we have created. Okay, and in the inbound rules section we can choose add rule, and then we can configure the following things. So here we can choose the type. So let's choose HTTP from this drop down, and source anywhere IPv4. Okay, so and next the tag, we can add a new tag. Okay, so for the key we can specify the name, and for value we can specify public security group and create the security group. Okay, so we have successfully created security group which will allow the HTTP traffic, and here you need this in the next task when we launch the Amazon EC2 instance in public subnet. Okay, so in the next task we will be launching an Amazon EC2 instance into the public subnet. Okay, so in this task we will launch an Amazon EC2 instance into the public subnet. And to enable communication over the internet for IPv4, your instances must have a public IPv4 address which is associated with the private IPv4 address on your instance. So by default, your instances will only aware of the private IP address space defined within the VPC and the subnet. And the internet gateway that we have created logically provide the one-to-one NAT on behalf of the instance. So when the traffic leaves our VPC subnet and goes to internet, the reply address field is set to the public IPv4 address or the elastic IP address of the instance, and it's not the private IP address. Okay, so from the AWS Management Console in the search bar, you can type EC2 and then choose the service. Okay, so here we are under the EC2 dashboard. So from here, you can, look for the launch instance. Okay, and you will get the launch an instance page. So here we can add the name and tag. So let's put the name as public instance. So we can use tags to categorize the AWS resources in different ways, such as by purpose, owner, or environment. So we can apply tags to most of the AWS resources, and each tag will consist of key and value pair, both which type we have to define. And one use of tag is for when you must manage many resources of the same type. It will be easy for the identification. So here under the name and tags, we can enter the name, which is public instance, and this name will appear on the instance in the Amazon EC2 Management Console, and we don't need any additional instance tag required. And next, under the application and OS images, here we can choose the Amazon Linux. So this is the Amazon Linux, and ensure that this Amazon Linux 2 AMI in the drop down. So this is eligible for free trial. As you can see, Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Okay, and next we can choose the Amazon EC2 instance type. So for this lab, we will use G3 micro, which is 2 vCPU and 1 gig memory. Okay, and next under key pair login, you can select here, and for now we can proceed without a key pair value. And next we can go to the network settings, and here we can choose the edit, and then we can choose the VPC, which is this ACG lab VPC, and here we will be selecting the public subnet. So this will be deployed in the public subnet, and auto assign public IP, let it be enabled. Okay, and next we'll have to configure the security group. So here we will be using the existing security group that we have created. So under the common security group, we can choose the public SG that we have created. And next we will be adding storage. So we can use the configure storage option, to add the storage. And here let's leave it with the default storage, which is 8 gig GB2. And next we'll configure the user data. You need to expand this advanced details. And here from the IAM instance profile, we can choose the EC2 instance. Okay, and to install and configure this new instance as the web server, we need to provide the user data script, rather doing manual installation. So I'm going to put some script under the user data. Okay, so we can leave the remaining fields default and then click on launch instance. Okay, and now here you can click on view all instances, and this is the one public instance that we have deployed. Okay, so we can see that the instance state says running, and let's wait for the status check. Okay, so now we can see that status check 2 by 2 check passed. Okay, so we have successfully launched the Amazon EC2 instance into the public subnet. Okay, next we'll connect to the public instance via HTTP. So in this task, we'll connect to the public instance and launch the basic Apache web server page, because we have installed the Apache web server on this instance. And the inbound rules added earlier, which will allow the HTTP access, and will allow to connect to the web server which is running Apache. So here under the instances, we can choose the public instance, and here under the networking, we can see this is the private and this is the public IPv4 address. Okay, so we can copy this public address, or we can also choose this open address. Okay, so we can see that we get the page from the instance that we have deployed. Okay, so next we'll see how to connect the Amazon EC2 instance in the public subnet via the session manager. So the session manager is a fully managed AWS systems manager that we can use to manage our EC2 instances through the interactive one-click browser-based shell or through the AWS command line interface. So we can use the session manager to start the session with the Amazon EC2 instance in our AWS account. So after starting the session, we can run the bash command as we would through any of the connection type. So here we can search for EC2. Okay, so we can click on instances and select the public instance, and here we can see the connect button. So let's click on connect, and here we can see that connect to instance, and we see that session manager tab, and with this session manager we can connect to the Amazon EC2 instance without needing to expose any SSH port to the firewall. So here we can click on connect. Okay, so the new browser tab has opened with the public instance. So here from the terminal, let's just type cd, and we'll try to use the curl command. So we will be just doing the curl aws.amazon.com/training. Okay, so we will be getting this output. So here we have successfully connected to our public instance using the session manager, and now we can safely close the tab, and we can go back to the our console. And next we'll create a NAT gateway and configure the routing in the private subnet. So in this task, we will create a NAT gateway and then create a route table to route non-local traffic to the NAT gateway, and then we'll attach the route table to the private subnet, and we can use the NAT gateway to allow this instance in a private subnet to connect to the internet or any other AWS services, but it prevents the internet from initiating a connection with those instances. So to create the NAT gateway, first we must specify the public subnet in which the NAT gateway should reside. So let's go back to the search option and type the VPC. Okay, so here we can choose NAT gateways and click on create NAT gateway. So here we can create a new route table for a private subnet that will redirect the non-local traffic to the gateway. So here we can put lab NAT gateway, and we'll choose the public subnet, and let's allocate elastic IP. Okay, and then create NAT gateway. Okay, so next we'll create the new route table for the private subnet that will redirect the non-local traffic to the NAT gateway. So we can go to the route table and choose create route table, and here we can type private route table and choose the lab VPC and create the route table. Okay, so under the route tab, this is the route which currently direct all traffic locally, and we can also edit the routes, and we can add a route for the destination. We can put 0, and the target we can put the NAT gateway in the drop down and choose the NAT gateway that we have created, and you can click on save changes. And next click on subnet association, and here you can click on edit subnet association, and click on the just select the private subnet and save the association. Okay, so this route sends the internet traffic from the private subnet to the NAT gateway that is in the same availability zone. So now we have successfully created the NAT gateway and configured the private route table. And in the next task, let's create the security group for private resources. Okay, here we can click on security groups and click on create security group, and you can enter the security group name. This is the private security group, and description you can mention something like allows incoming traffic to private instance using public security group. And here you can click on the X and select the lab VPC, and under the inbound rules you can add a rule, and here we can choose the HTTPS, and okay, so for the inbound rule let's choose HTTPS, and the source type let's type SG here and select the public SG. And next in the tags optional, let's add a tag for the key. We can choose the name, and value here we can put the private SG and create this security group. Okay, so we should have added here SG, public SG. Okay, so okay, looks like error creating security group. Okay, let's check the security group. Go to the VPC and security group. Okay, so we can see that there is a rule. Okay, so next we will launch the EC2 instance into the private subnet. let's go to the EC2 and go to the launch instance. So here we can put the private instance, Amazon Linux, AMI, and similarly we can put T3 micro, and let's go with that default option. Okay, let's edit the network. Can choose the VPC, and here it is already private subnet, and auto assign public, which is disabled, and choose the existing group. So we can choose the private security group. Okay, and we can go with the default size of the storage, and advanced we can choose EC2 instance profile. Okay, and leave the other option default, and we can launch the instance. View all instance. Okay, so we have successfully launched the Amazon EC2 instance into the private subnet. The private instance also we can see the status check, which is passed, and state is running. So you can select that and click on connect, and select the session manager to take a remote console. Okay, now we got the terminal. Okay, so here we can put cd, the same thing we did on the public instance. So this is https and aws.amazon.com/training. Okay, so we get this sample output. So now we have successfully connected to the private instance using the session manager, and we can now just close this. Yeah. Okay, so that's it in this video, and I'll see you in the next. Thank you.